guys say anything, I'm going to go ahead and I know you're going to lean over and talk to the people beside you. Yes, it is true that the lady who cuts my hair, she had a baby and had to cancel on me. So I'm a little shaggy this morning, and I don't want you to laugh at me right out of the blocks, but I did not have time to get a haircut. And so she did not schedule her birth of her child in the appropriate amount of time for me to give this speech today. Clemens is a great friend, and I want to say thanks to Knop and the team there from Graz, Austria. This is a quietly booming company in Kennesaw, and I honestly had no idea how big they were until I went to go visit their facility and visit them in Graz. But this is one of our largest Austrian employers, and they're right there in Kennesaw, and they're growing so fast that we didn't even know about it. And so, Clemens, thank you for what you do to be part of this and to be part of really our economic development story in Georgia. So this is an exciting day, and I can tell by the number of people who came out today, this is a great crowd. And it shows how important economic development is across the state. And we're going to have a great conversation in a few minutes with Stuart Countess, our good friend, Kia President and CEO, and of course Lauren Curry from the governor's office. This literally is the first time that I've seen Lauren outside of that building, outside of her office since session started. So you know that economic development is important when Lauren leaves the Capitol. Today's discussion is a great example of what makes Georgia successful. And there are really three things in that equation: partnership, alignment, and leadership. So before we get to that, and before we start talking about that in the fireside chat, I want to give you a little bit of perspective. So I've had the honor of serving 3 Georgia governors during my time in economic development. That is now going on 16 years, which is absolutely crazy to say. Over that time, we've seen some strong economies, and we've seen some challenging ones as well. But through it all, the one thing that has remained constant is a pro-business focus from our leadership in this state. Leadership that values every job. And how often did we hear that during COVID? Governor Kemp said, every job is an essential job. Leadership that understands that long-term prosperity for our families, for our communities, and for our state come from creating opportunity in every corner of Georgia. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, and for more than 50 years, whether we've been Democrat or Republican, we have been pro-business. And that doesn't matter, that came from the governor. Doesn't matter the makeup of the General Assembly. We have stayed focused on helping companies create opportunities because that's what's important across the state. That consistency is what drives our success. It's not an accident that Georgia's been the #1 state for business for 12 years. Economic development is intentional, and every person in this room knows that. That commitment has been front and center for Governor Kemp. Many of you have heard me say this, but when we elected the governor, when Georgians went into that booth and they voted for Brian Kemp, they elected an entire family. And that family has been on the front line of economic development, and that's from Alma to Munich, that's from the community to the boardroom. They have sold Georgia across the country. They are our best sales team. And if y'all haven't heard me say this too, Marty Kemp is awesome on a sales pitch. We call her our closer. And when we're trying to get something across the finish line, we put Marty in with a CEO because she is good at selling Georgia. But it's been remarkable to watch. From COVID to global uncertainty, they have led a focus and determination, standing with our communities and putting Georgians first, while continuing to bring jobs and opportunity to every corner of the state. So having served in multiple administrations, I have a unique seat to sit and really see what works and what hasn't. But I believe when all is said and done, when we look back on the previous decade, It's going to be remembered as one of the most prosperous periods of economic development in Georgia's history. And it's not just measured on the jobs that we brought to the state. We're talking about diversification of our economy and reaching communities that hadn't seen opportunities in decades. These are jobs of the future. These are jobs that are not going to go away because a strategy has changed with a company. We've seen firsthand the impact across the state. And you've heard me highlight this before, but I think it bears continuing to talk about. In Alma, Bacon County, La Regina, family-owned company from Italy, small town in Italy finds a small town in Georgia where they transformed Richmond Bakery, a bakery that was out of business. You think about a workforce that was missing jobs in a community that needed jobs. They began a new production facility, and that Rayo's pasta sauce that you see in Costco, that is made in Alma, Georgia. What's even more important is that they are a port user. They also buy from 100 farmers across South Georgia. So you think about that ripple effect, not only the jobs that are there in that facility, the families that are touched because they have a better life and a better opportunity, but every farmer who is selling onions, garlic, basil back to La Regina, that's a massive impact, and that's exciting. That's why we do what we do. Governor Kemp says often, and I've heard this so many times, Georgia's brightest days are still ahead. And y'all, I believe that. I absolutely believe it. We've got an amazing trajectory in this state. During his term, Georgia hasn't just grown, we've set records in job creation, in investment, in trade, in exports, in tourism, and in film and entertainment. Now, if y'all know me, you know I'm a fan of The Office. I absolutely love that show. In fact, when I was working on this speech last night, that was playing in the background. It is always on in my house. But my favorite line, and Marie is going to kill me because I continue to say this, it's the last episode, Andy Bernard. He says, I wish there was a way to know that we were in the good old days before we've left them. Y'all, we are in the good old days. It's happening right now. And I want you all to know that. It didn't happen by accident. It was an intentional planning, but we're in the middle of some amazing times. But we've got a responsibility to keep it that way. Everybody in this room has a responsibility to keep moving forward, to keep planning, because economic development can end immediately. Now, I want to thank Governor Kemp and First Lady Kemp for their leadership, for being Georgia's strongest advocates, for working every day to ensure that Georgia remains the best place to live, work, and raise a family. Now, I also want to thank our partners in the administration. And I know a lot of our sister agencies are here today. This starts at the top, and the governor has asked us to prioritize economic development, and that is from Department of Community Affairs with Christopher Nunn, TCSG, USG. It's the number of acronymed agencies is long, but I want to even point out that DDS helps us when we need assistance. You've got a foreign CEO who needs a new driver's license. We're all aligned, and that starts from the top, and I want to thank them for what they do as well. Everybody in this room plays a part in economic development, and that's what's exciting, to have everybody here today to talk about how we can continue to go in the right direction. So I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for what you do for job growth in your community, in your business, and thank you for caring enough to help Georgians find new opportunities. So Chris, Grant, thank you guys for pulling this together. This is exciting, and we look forward to a great fireside chat. Thanks, y'all.